In this video, I'm going to talk about the selection of edges, points, and polygons in editable objects. So you should have watched the previous video, video 005, before going on here. So here we are in Cinema 4D. As always, make sure you're in standard mode, and then go to View, Frame Default. And once again, I really recommend that you follow along with this. Anyway, so let's make a cylinder. Hit the drop-down menu next to the cube and choose cylinder. And as I explained in the previous video, this is a parametric object. It has parameters. The default radius is 50, default height is 200. Height segments is 4, which we can't see right now, but I'll address that soon. And then rotation segments is 16. Now these rotation segments and height segments, with this display of Gouraud shading, we can't see them, you know. Now in previous videos, if you've been watching, the way we can change the display is to click on display, and then the default is Gouraud shading, and we can choose any one of these. Gouraud shading with lines is what's very helpful, so we can click on that. And with Gouraud shading with lines, we can see that these height segments, there's 4 height segments, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 16 rotation segments. I want to show you something else, so let me go back to the display Gouraud shading. You might find yourself wanting to switch between Gouraud shading and Gouraud shading with lines quite a bit as you work. A shortcut is just to hit the letter N on the keyboard, and that will bring up this little menu. So as you can see, then you can hit the letter B on the keyboard, and it'll make Gouraud shading with lines. All right. So why am I going on with Gouraud shading with lines? Well, because when we make this editable, all the points and edges will be visible. So anyway, let's make this editable by either hit the letter C on the keyboard or use this icon here at the bottom of the toolbar on the right. Now this object is editable, and that's when we have to be cognizant of whether we're using point, edge, polygon, or model mode here. All right. So let's go into point mode, and the selection tool we'll click on that, is the brush selection, and let's just click, hold, and drag across a few points. Okay, and then I can move them if I wanted to, right? I could choose the rotation tool, and the shortcut for the rotation tool is R, and I can rotate just those points. Or I can choose the, if I have more than 2 or more points selected, I can select the scale tool. The default, or the keyboard shortcut is T, and I can squish. Let me move the camera a little bit. With the scale tool, I can, scale the relative distance between the points with the scale tool. Okay, so one thing, let me go click the selection tool again, the brush selection tool, and click anywhere to deselect. So here's the thing, when the tool you select, the last tool you select that's active, you'll see it's like a blue-purple color, will show up in, the attributes of it will show up in the attribute manager. Typically it'll default to axis, but if you click options, you will see by default visible only will be selected. So let me review that again. Okay, so I got the brush tool selected. In the attributes manager, I got the options tab clicked, and I can see visible only is checked. That means, when I sweep across the object, only the points that are that are visible to me in the view in the scene here will be selected. So let me like straighten this out. Like, so if I sweep across this line, these points are selected, but the points on the back are not selected. Likewise, if I go up to the selection tool and hit the drop-down menu, there's a rectangle selection, which is similar to what's in Photoshop, the marquee selection. And same thing, let me make sure. Okay, so like if I make a marquee selection across this line of points, those are all selected, yay. But the ones in the back are not selected. Again, that's because visible only is checked. Quite frequently, you will want to select everything, front and back, okay, to adjust your object. And let me, just because this has been messed up a little bit, I'm going to delete it and make a new cylinder. Whoops, I forgot I got to go in model mode to select the whole thing and delete it. Let me make a new cylinder. Let me make it editable. Okay. Now suppose I want to make sure to select every point along here. Okay, so I have to go into point mode. I want to be, really sure that I select every point all around, back and front. So the best thing to do is to select your selection tool and disable visible only. Now when I make a marquee selection across this area here, it's going to select everything around it. With every point selected around it, I could, for instance, enable the scale tool, and I can scale things in and out this way, or along the x-axis as well. You can scale multiple axes at once if you can like grab the center of the axis. Well, I can't see it, right? If I hit the letter N and I choose, what do I want to choose, wireframe or lines? I think I want to choose lines. N and lines is G on my little menu. I don't have those memorized, I just know. So let's see. That didn't work. Let me deselect. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, yeah, so now I can like go into the center, select all these axes, and scale them in and out that way. And again, how do I get back to Gouraud shading? Hit the letter N. You see Gouraud shading with lines is B, so I'll hit B. And here I am back. So let's see. So like the other thing is like if I'm in point mode and these points are selected and I hit the delete key, only the points will be selected. Let me do Command Z to go back. Command and Control Z works in Cinema 4D just like it does in everything else. If I go into edge mode and I make a selection of an edge, I'm just going to use the selection tool here. If I hold down Shift and select a few edges, and then I hit the delete key, only the edges will be deleted. If I select something and if I want to delete the entire object, I have to go into model mode. Okay, so just as I manipulated and selected edges and points, the same thing with the polygon mode, right? I can select, hold down the Shift key, and select multiple polygons. I can rotate those polygons by themselves, and so on and so forth. But the thing I want you to be cognizant of is when you select a selection tool, and for us, we're just going to use brush selection or rectangle selection. Be aware that under options, visible only will be the default. So if you want to select stuff that's behind your object, you will have to deselect visible only. And in the first project that I'm going to give you guys, I'll make sure to remember to tell you how to, to make sure that's either enabled or disabled depending on what you want to do.